Hello everybody, I'm JJumbo, in Pac-Man World 2. I swear it's a game a lot of people born within like the late 90s or so have a lot of fond memories of, but as someone born around the mid-2000s or so, I haven't really played the game, but I do remember my brother playing the game. I have a lot of fond and vivid memories of it. So let's see if this game holds up or not. So first up, when you boot the game, you get this little cool Namco title card thing with this really nice jingle. And all I'm saying is, if the game is half as good as that jingle, I think we're looking at a good 7 out of 10 experience or so. After that beautiful title card, we get a little intro animation to show kind of what's going on and everything. And it starts off with the 4 main ghosts entering Pac-Village to try to cause a little mischief. Problem is, they're bad at it. Like Pinky out here, trying to admire Pac-Man and everything, kinda weird. But then, Chomp Chomp, dog out here, Pinky gets scared of that! And then, Clyde and Inky out here. Clyde is trying to sneak in a little, do a little sneaking. Inky is following, but Clyde doesn't know that. So Inky just gets thrown off. Blinky, on the other hand, is just wandering in, doing whatever, sees a shadow of a bush in the shape of Pac-Man, and gets scared of that. Imagine being scared of a shadow. After a while, Clyde starts commanding the other ghosts to steal the fruit from the golden tree. Surprised they didn't start with that, because that's the only thing they're actually kind of good at. But they do that, they start playing with the fruit, and then Spooky, Spooky the evil ghost, emerges from the tree, and then just kind of tells them to hide the fruit and take them, and then he'll take over Pac-Land or something and defeat Pac-Man. I don't know. I do really like this cutscene, even though as a kid it scared the crap out of me. I don't know, maybe something about the animation and the music to it is kind of a little scary as a kid. Thinking about it, it's probably the very end where it gets very dark, and then you see their faces just illuminate. That's pretty scary as a kid. Still scares me a little. So after that cutscene, you're thrown onto the title screen, which I think it's a perfect mood setter for what you're gonna get yourself into. Because with the cutscene, it's a bit ominous, you're a bit scared, but then you just see Pac-Man happy as all can be, and then he just starts playing hacky sack with the logo, circle, yellow circle guy. I love my circle characters. And then after you select a new save file, you go on to another cutscene. A Professor Pac explaining what's going on and why you need to care. I love that part of this cutscene is shown in an old storybook kind of style. I also love that Sir Pac-A-Lot out here. He's a little bit goofy. He just has a helmet on and a sword. Somehow he beats Spooky. Don't know how. After that, you're thrown into the technically first level of the game. It's not really though. It's Pac-Village. Basically, it's kind of a hub world where you can just explore a little, relax, play some arcade games, and then you can figure out the controls of the game. And I would say Pac-Man, he controls great. The weight of his jumps are really nice, and then there's a little thump sound whenever he lands. But unlike Mario, you can't really just jump on enemies to deal damage to them. Instead, you have to use a move called the butt bounce. I think that they made this move perfect based off the fact that you can kind of just spam the move. Instead of just walking, I would just sometimes be just butt bouncing along. Also, while you're in the air, you can use a move called the flip kick to deal damage to enemies in the air and also destroy crates. The walking speed of Pac-Man isn't really too fast, but I didn't really worry about that because Pac-Man looks so just jolly and happy anytime he was walking. There's something about it with the bouncing he was doing with every step. It looked like he just didn't care about anything in a good way. But if you did need to go fast at certain points, there was a move called the Rev Roll, where if you hold the B button, the camera will lock behind Pac-Man, and then it's basically a spin dash, you just launch yourself forward. So there isn't a whole lot of moves in the game, but it does give you enough where it feels like you're not missing anything. I'd say the only problem is the flip kick is used rarely. There is one pretty big problem with the game though, and that is the fact that the camera does not want to cooperate with you half of the time. There was multiple times where I had to make a blind leap of faith for a really easy jump because the camera would just lock on a random part. There would be parts where it would also be stuck on the level geometry and everything, and then you have to unstick it from it, which what you'd have to do is you have to use the R button to zoom it into you, use the L button to lock it behind you, and then use the R button again to zoom it out. After you get used to the controls, you can leave Pac-Village and then go into the first world of the game, which is grass themed. The first real level of the game is called the Bare Basics, which kind of just like reteaches you anything you need to know about the game, like how the controls, if you skipped out on it, just didn't want to practice it on your own, and then also how to like interact with the level environment, like how switches can only be really interacted with the butt bounce, and then it perfectly leads into the Pac-Dot trail, which starts off with a little red Pac-Dot and then leads you into a different part of the level. It also teaches you to kill certain enemies with the butt bounce, but tells you there might be other ways to do it with like the rev roll or flip kick or some other way to do it. And then it shows how chests can be unlocked with fruit, which is weird.
Yo, we finally found it!
How do we open it?
I got a couple keys.
We'll use it. Well, that didn't work, idiot.
Well, do you have any good ideas?
Oh, bet you I do. Banana. Holy guacamole!
Is that a Luigi gift card?
I think that's a Luigi gift card.
Yo!
It also shows you the main power-ups you'll be using throughout the game, which are the power pellet and the steel ball. The power pellet, all it really does is you collect it and then you can like eat up the ghosts. That's the only way you can really defeat them. The steel ball, on the other hand, has a lot more uses than the power pellet. It makes it so you don't take any damage from enemies or even fire. It makes sure you sink while in water, which has some uses. Some people think that is basically just a metal cap from Mario 64. They might be right. But see, look, I can do it too!
You have lead poisoning!
Wrong hat, I guess. I don't know. I do think that they used it in more interesting ways than Mario 64, though. Like, there's a part where you had a platform through, like, fire, like, in a certain time limit, whereas the power-up will run out. Some weird parts, though, is it taught you that there's, like, thorny plants to dodge, and then that there was also some swimming mechanics and how to use them. Weird thing about it is I don't think they were ever used past the first world. I love that at no point in this level, you had to, like, stop and read the signs. You could just kind of like speed past everything if you knew what you're doing. The next level is Canyon Chaos, which starts off by you having to make some jumps out of the void. The jumps aren't too hard, but it does show that you will be having to do some platforming in this adventure. There are 4 different types of collectibles you'll be needing to grab throughout this entire journey. First up, it's the fruit, which the only thing like special about them is that they can unlock like chests to unlock different collectibles or new parts of the level. The next one is a Galaxian, which is a bit more hidden than fruit, and there's only one of them. And when you do grab it, you get sent into the mazes of this game. All that the mazes are basically just kind of like the basic style Pac-Man maze, except for it's kind of just themed towards the level you're currently on. And it does count as a checkpoint, so you know you don't have to do the entire maze all over again. The next collectibles are the Pac-Dots, which I believe every like 50 or so of them you grab, you get an extra health point basically. Problem with it, there are hundreds of them in every level. Compared to like the fruit, which there are maybe like 40 to 60, maybe more, maybe less in each level. Problem with that is you have to grab 1, every Pac-Dot, 2, every fruit, and then every Galaxian to 100% the level. And when you 100% every level, you get 1 thing. And that's just a token. Something I didn't mention is that you have to do all of that within like 1 playthrough of the level. So if you just like forget something, or you didn't know there was like a certain part of the level, it basically just counts as you didn't do it. There is technically another collectible, which are the tokens, which are the one thing where if you grab it, you don't have to recollect it on another playthrough. And there's like about 8 or so in each level, but then there are 2 bonus tokens in a level. The first one is by 100%ing the level with every collected fruit. The other one is by doing a time trial. The time trials are really cool, because basically you're kind of just racing against the clock to get a better time than what the game already has set. There are some ways to kind of cheat it better by doing it faster instead of just going as fast as you can. You have to grab like certain clock timers that will stop it, which are replacing the fruit. I think that the time trials are a really good way to show that you have mastered the level, because it has to show that you, 1, know where all the collectibles are and how to grab them fast, and 2, all the level design so you can do it fast. With all the collectibles mentioned, which one would I say is the main one? I would say the tokens, because all the collectibles all lead to tokens, and then with every like certain like 20 to 30 tokens you get, you unlock either like the jukebox, arcade games, or like a hidden museum of like concept art. Also, because the tokens stay collected after you beat it, that's one thing that I will like try hard to grab, even if I don't go for the fruit, which most of the time I go for the fruit and all the collectibles, because if I don't, it just kind of feels like I'm skipping like most of the level design. Anyways, to beat Canyon Chaos, you have to grab the Shrink Pellet, which is basically just like a mini mushroom from Mario, but it only has like one use and it's to fit into small cracks. And I'm pretty sure it was only used like 2 times. So why did they include it? Pac-Dot Pond. It's a very simple level where you're just climbing up the side of a waterfall and then going up a pond. It does show a really nice thing of all the music in each world kind of being connected together. I think it's really nice, because it kind of makes every level feel connected to each other in each world. Blinky's Killer Frog is the first boss of this game, and I would say it's the 3rd most interesting one. Yes, I did say Blinky. For some reason in this game, they swapped Clyde and Blinky's name with each other. Don't know why. I do like that because it's the first boss. Blinky will tell you kind of how to defeat it by bump bouncing on the tongue. But then like halfway through the boss fight, the tongue gets like reinforced with steel, so instead you have to rev roll into the mouth. I think for being the first boss, it's really easy, but it's still really good. Next up, we got the Forest World, and the first level is Bedoing Woods, which shows off the main mechanic, which are the Bedoings, which are little like trampoline things where you butt bounce it and then just get launched into the sky. I will say, the Bedoings are one of the funnest mechanics in this entire game, because you butt bounce down on them, you get this nice little like timpani sound, I think it's a timpani, and the camera locks to a top-down perspective. Problem with that though, is that with all the height you're getting from it, a new problem from this game comes into play, which is fall damage. I don't know why there's fall damage in this game. It barely affects you most of the time, but they added it. Other than that, I think this is one of the best levels in the game. And then we get another hit with Treewood Forest. Basically just another Bedoing Woods, but you're doing more platforming on top of the trees itself and the branches of it. But there is some buzzsaws you have to like jump over and avoid to make things more difficult, which I think is a really good fun platforming challenge. To continue with the great time, we get Butane Pain, which is basically just another Treewood Forest, but instead of jumping through a lot of buzzsaws, we get platforming through fire with the steel ball. I'd say the only problem is there's sometimes where the camera locks and you can't really see where you're jumping, but I think this is a really great level. The second boss is Inky's Blade-O-Matic. It's just Inky in a little ghost mech. It's a really simple boss fight. All you need to do really is just rev roll towards it constantly. All I hope is that the next boss fight is maybe a bit more interesting and difficult. Also, I really hope that the next world keeps at least the same quality, if not even get better. The third world is ice levels. Great. Having to platform through really annoying physics. Anyways, let's get this over with Ice River Run. You know, this level doesn't look too bad from the start of things, just a snow level. And then also fighting the rev roll rams? Pretty fun. You just rev roll into them and then just butt bounce on top of them. I also believe this is the second and final time you get to see the Shrink Pellet. Come on guys, you can't do anything cool with it besides just fitting into small cracks.
Okay, I'll talk about the actual level.
It has you trekking up an ice river, which it isn't too bad until you try to get every single Pac-Dot. I swear, in this level specifically, they made the Pac-Dots smaller than what it normally is. So I had to jump like 2 to 3 times just to collect it. I swear they also made the ledge grabbing hitbox smaller, which is a problem because you're jumping over water, which basically just acts as a death pit. I do like that they're making it so you're avoiding the ice by jumping on like rocks or snow, because the ice mechanics in this game suck. You are constantly like sliding down, you can't control any direction you're going. If you butt bounce, you're going even further down. But you can rev-roll past the ice, but it like rarely comes in handy. I hope this bad streak does not continue with Avalanche Alley. So it starts off with a snowball creating a big avalanche. It's a really cool gimmick. Problem with it is though, you are walking towards the camera, and the problem with that is you still have to grab all the collectibles. And if you miss one, you can't like backtrack at all. So you have to like die, go back to your last checkpoint or from the start of the level and grab the collectibles again. There is though a bit of platforming where one thing I did like is that you had to like grab collectibles on ice platforms, and the ice platforms you have almost enough control to grab all the collectibles and it's not too big of a worry. And I think that's a really fun gimmick as well. I'm starting to get annoyed with all these like weird level gimmicks, so hopefully they start getting better. Blade Mountain is next up, and I think it's one of the coolest levels idea-wise. The context is you're going up the mountain in the previous two levels, and now you're going down. But there's a lot of ice on the way down, so Pack Ranger, cool guy, gives you a pair of ice skates to go down in style. This level, I don't think is anything too hard unless you're going for 100%. And then it's like one of the worst experiences out there, because you have to play it almost perfectly, because you are going too fast, you can't turn around. And there's so many Pac-Dots that you have to like perfectly line yourself up with. This is one of the few levels that I didn't even try to 100% because, you know, I want to be happy with myself. For the boss, we get basically the same thing as before, just like a tiny bit harder. The attack patterns do change a tiny bit if you feel like waiting, but again, you can't just kind of just keep rev rolling at Pinky, so it doesn't really matter. Overall, I think this world has some of the most unique level ideas ever. The problem is the execution on them are really bad. Game devs, can you just like go back to like Treewood Forest, just, you know, make it a bit harder, maybe change the theme a little. After the ice world, we get a lava world, which I feel like the climate on those are way different from each other, but hopefully it's nothing too bad. We got something that doesn't seem too bad with the level Into the Volcano. I think it's pretty good most of the way through, except for it focuses most of the time on the ledge mechanics, which are pretty good, except for if it's a falling object, which then you will grab the ledge and then try to pick yourself up from it, except for Pac-Man will snap it back to ledge and then pick himself up, and there'll be an infinite cycle. It's nothing too bad compared to the ice world, where grabbing every collectible felt like a chore. With the next level, Volcanic Panic, I'm going to go on a bit of a side tangent. Pac-Man looks so good in this level. It's something about the warmer colors and Pac-Man looking more orange and I think a bit more like shaded and shiny with it. He looks really good. With this level though, there is a small gimmick. It's not that bad. It just has you doing like small little platforming challenges and then hitting a button. And then like the lava will lower and then you go deeper into the volcano. And then you just kind of keep doing that, and I think it's really good. I think that this is a really good way to do little gimmicks without it feeling like a really big problem. Cough cough, ice world. Though there was one problem with this level, which had you shimmying across two ledges. So it has you shimmying across with little smoke and everything and fire to dodge. It's not bad going to the button, but on the way back the camera is still the same. So you can't really see what you're trying to dodge. I think except for that one part, I think this level is probably my top 5 favorite levels of this game. Magma Opus. I think it has one of the best intros to a level in this entire game. It throws you into a room of falling pillars where you have to quickly platform through it. I think that and the music give excellent foreshadowing about where you're going to get yourself into. A genuinely difficult platforming challenge. I do remember watching a video about someone that complained that the slide was like really difficult or something, but I don't think that's a really big problem because there's a lot of checkpoints everywhere on that slide. So if you miss something, you can just go back and do it. So I don't think the slide is too much of a worry. Now something that is a big worry is the boss, which is Clyde and Caldera, which this boss fight is 1. Same thing as the last one as before. But 2, they made it way more difficult. Like they ramped it up to a 13 on the difficulty scale. They changed it, so instead of having to just revel in front of it, you actually have to butt bounce on top of the mech, which means you actually have to wait for the attack cycles. And those attack cycles are pretty hard. To be honest, first few phases, not that bad. Later phases, throwing everything at you, and I can barely see the fire he's throwing. Another problem is, whenever you attack him, the glass breaks, and then the hitbox gets smaller. So near the final few phases, you just stand here just constantly butt bouncing him, and then you just don't hit him, even though you're hitting the glass. Even though the boss on this world really sucked, I would still say the lava world is infinitely better than the ice world. I am worried though, that the next world might become way too difficult. So let's just, maybe keep the same difficulty, maybe go the tiniest step up. Great. They came up with a new level gimmick. Swimming. It isn't even anything cool. Like, I need a new level gimmick. Let's see how long I can hold my breath. 5 seconds. Noted. The only, hard part about this level is that you're having to, dodge mines that are, sinking and everything. And then also, grabbing collectibles that you can't really backtrack towards. Part of me is getting my hopes up. Because when you're ending the level, you're entering a submarine base with the next level shark attacks, so we might get something cool. Come on, more swimming? Like they couldn't have done anything cool with it? They could have had it where you're platforming in a submarine base, or it could have been a destroyed submarine base from sharks or something, but no. More swimming! They did make it a little bit harder, but I can barely notice it. It's like trying to spice up your breakfast cereal by putting on a hat. Also, the sharks in this level, based off the name, they don't really do anything. They're, I think, meant to, sniff you, and then, chomp at you, but all they do is sniff, try to chomp, but do nothing. At this point, it's making me miss the ice skating level, even though it was bad. At this point, I can just bet we're going to be swimming through every level, so let's just get this over with. Oh, a submarine? Cool. I think that if they really wanted to keep the whole underwater auto-scroller thing, this is a good way to spice it up. Though, 90% of the controls are basically the same. You do get, torpedoes, though. I really like this, because you actually have to, plan out your shots, instead of just button mashing for a whole solid 8 minutes. Yeah, I said 8 minutes. That's, 100 times longer than I can hold my breath. It also doesn't help that you can only see 5 feet in front of you. I think they did this because it's procedurally generated, but it's not like it matters because I don't remember any of the set pieces really. After that grueling 8-minute long level, we're on to the boss, which I'm wondering, who are they gonna do for this? Because all the 4 main ghosts are defeated. Are they gonna do Inky from Pac-Man Arrangement? No, the 4 main ghosts together. Okay, see how it is. But all jokes aside, I really like this boss. It has you shoot torpedoes at the submarine to try to destroy it, and all the hurt boxes for it are in all the corners, so it's a little difficult, but it's not impossibly difficult where I'm hard struggling to hit it. It's not like it's a hard boss and all, but compared to all the 3 levels of water that I was going through, it's really refreshing. After all that swimming, it almost makes me miss something like Blade Mountain. I said almost! This level has basically the same strengths and weaknesses as Blade Mountain, but I think Haunted Boardwalk does it a bit better. For example, you can turn around, but parts of the level are collapsing, so you can't really do it a whole lot of the time, but it is a nice option. I think this level does some really nice world building though, because throughout your whole journey, if you see a power pellet, you can eat up ghosts, and if you see ghosts, you'll find a power pellet. But now that you are in their territory, all you can really do is run. After all the roller skating I had to do on Haunted Boardwalk, we get thrown onto night crawling. Night crawling is what I would consider one of the best levels in this game. There's no platforming that feels too hard or anything. There's no like any parts of the level design that feels like BS. There was one part where you had to do a reverential leap of faith, but there wasn't too much of a risk for it. And there wasn't a whole lot of collectibles in this level, so I didn't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. So I think this is like one of my favorite levels in this game. In comparison, Ghost Bayou is way worse. The story of this level is kind of cool though. Basically, throughout the whole story of this game, you are chasing Spooky to Ghost Island, but then you go over to Wormwood, a sentient tree, and somehow the brother to the golden tree in Pac-Village is trying to distract Pac-Man from Spooky, who is making his way over to Pac-Village. But actually, like, playing through this level is really annoying, because it's like this whole maze and everything, which, you know, might be kind of cool because it's Pac-Man and mazes and all this stuff, but it's more annoying than anything. And then also, there's little like paths you have to go down, but it's barely the size of Pac-Man. So you have to like slowly walk through, or you know, have to redo it and then slowly walk through until you get the point. But this ends with Wormwood succeeding because Spooky has already made it to Pac-Village. This level starts off with a cutscene of Pac-Man returning the golden fruit to the tree, but Spooky has been spying on him the whole time. So then Spooky raises up the ground around the golden fruit tree to the sky, but Pac-Man already returned the fruit to the tree, so Pac-Man turns to gold. You might be thinking that because Pac-Man returned the fruit to the golden tree and turned to gold, he might have like a special move, or it might be like a cool boss fight where it's like supersonic or something, but no, it's the same exact Pac-Man, same exact moveset. And then during this boss fight, Spooky is throwing projectiles at Pac-Man, doing all these cool attacks and everything, and then you just have to wait for him to have an opening and attack him. It's not too hard of a boss fight. After defeating him, you get a cutscene of Spooky getting sealed back into the tree, and then all of Pac-Village is celebrating your success. After all that, do I think people should play this game? Absolutely! This is a really great game. I think the main like great thing about this game is all the vibes and everything. I would be playing like a few levels at a time, get a little annoyed, and then I just kind of remember all the fun times I was having, and just keep coming back and just like slowly chipping away at it. I do think though, if you're gonna do this all 100% in one sitting, I'd probably not recommend the game. It's kind of annoying. Even then, after replaying the game to grab more footage, I think the levels got way easier, especially for 100%ing them. So, I'd say I'd give this game like a 7.5 out of 10. While I was grabbing footage for this game, they decided to remake it. So, let's see if the remake can do better than the original. First, and most importantly, they got rid of the intro jingle. No! Okay, but really this game does do a lot to make it feel like the original. The only thing I really think they changed was the art style, which makes sense for the more modern Pac-Man brand, but I think the original has way more personality to it. Like, for example, the ghosts in the original look like plastic, but in like the remake, they look kind of matte and everything, which is a weird thing to think about, because in the original, they were moving, like they were bending, which I feel like plastic doesn't do a whole lot, compared to the remake, where they're like solidly moving as like a solid object. There's also a bit of a pet peeve, but I liked it in the original where they made Spooky like really ominous and you barely know where you're going again. And with things being more ominous, with the cutscene, the ghosts in the original, you could only really see their eyes and mouth when it faded out, compared to with the remake, where you can like perfectly see their like face details. It's only like darkened a little. So the art style is one thing that I get why they would do it, but voice acting, it's weird because it's Pac-Man. I don't feel like Pac-Man does voice acting. I think it's cool that they got the voice actor from Pac-Man World 3 to reprise his role for this game, but I just cannot deal with it in this game. Mainly in the levels, because in the levels, he talks all the time. Like if you jump, he'll say something. Collect a fruit, he'll say something. Everything you do, he will say something about it. It's nice that there's a slider to turn it down, but in something like the cutscenes, let's do the mouth flaps and everything, but there's no sound, or there's not like, they didn't remake the cutscenes for no sound. So I have to like go back in a cutscene, turn up the talking again, and then turn it back down when I go back into the level. I wish it was just like a toggle to be like, turn off talking during cutscene, or turn on talking during cutscene. Other than that, no. I feel like that's not even a hard thing to change. Everything else with this sound design, I think they did pretty good on. It's not as good as the original, but it's not a really big notice. They did, I think, change the instruments a little on some songs. I'm not even confident on that. With the controls, I think they did it mainly for the better, like the butt bounce. There's now a new move where if you do it at the peak of your jump, you do a super butt bounce, which gives you more height and then stuns enemies kind of around you in a shockwave. And then with the flip kick, they added it so you can do it in the air and then you can also do it on the ground now, which, you know, makes it so you can actually use it. They did add a few moves, like the Pac-Dot attack from World 1, but it's not really necessary in this game. They also added a flutter so you can like correct your jumps a little, but it's not really needed. The rev roll, basically the same, but the camera does not lock behind you on it. So it's kind of really hard to line up your shots and everything. I think a problem with this game is the camera. Weirdly enough, they made it so you have like a free-flowing camera. Problem with that is, most of the level design, you don't need it. And also the problem, the camera doesn't lock in on certain parts. So there will be times where I am just like having a platform and then I have to like claw grip the controller so I can like angle the camera a certain way. And then it's not like there's points where the camera won't lock. For example, in the Pac-Dot trail, it will lock. There's certain parts where it will. But like, it's only very situational. So I think if they wanted to make it perfect, they could combine the camera locking in the original and the free-flowing when it's free-flowing from the remake, and then it would be a perfect camera. For some reason, they went the extreme in both games. They did change some of the collectibles in this game. Like, the fruit and everything stays the same. They did change the Pac-Dots, where you don't need to grab every single one for 100%. They did change the tokens, so it's more of a gachapon type thing, which I didn't care about. I mainly just wanted arcade games, but... They did add 3 missions to every level, though. But the thing is, all the missions are basically the same within every level. Like, the first one will always be get a bronze medal in time trial mode. Second one will be grab every fruit. And then the third one will be related to the level. I feel like that's kind of lame. If they did like 3 things completely new to every level, that would be kind of cool. And then when you complete a mission, you either unlock a costume or another random collectible. I think it's really cool. The thing is, I didn't fully care about getting costumes. I would just play regular Pac-Man out here. For most of the levels, they kept them relatively the same. So unless there's a big change that I think is for better or for worse, I'm probably not going to talk about it. Anyways, I think the only big problem with the first world is the boss. Which, first off, they fixed the name for Clyde and Blinky. I know, sad. I was hoping it was going to be an Easter egg or something, but no. They did change it so every boss has 2 phases. The first phase, just their basic form, you know, normal attacks and everything. Second phase, they eat the golden fruit, and then they become faster, harder, and then they might add another move or 2. I think that's a really cool thing. A change that I didn't like in it was that they removed the checkpoints in every boss fight. So you have to do it all in one run. It's kind of really stupid because, first off, if you're learning the boss, you don't want to start from the very beginning to have to figure out the next attack cycle on the second phase. And then, 2, time trial mode, you have to already do it in one run to get a good time on it. And 3, for one of the missions, you have to do it in one life. So I don't get why they didn't add a checkpoint or anything. Something cool is that when you beat all the missions for a boss, you unlock an arcade game. The arcade games are Pac-Man, Pac-Mania, Pac-Attack, you know, normal Pac-Man stuff. Problem is, they run bad. The music will slow down. Parts of the game will even slow down. I don't even know how it's a problem. It's games from like the 80s and early 90s. Even the GameCube version could run it without flaws. Overall, I would say the game runs pretty bad. Like, I'm playing the Switch version and all, but if there's more than like 8 enemies on screen, the game will slow down hard. You can choose between either high resolution, high visuals, or high frame rate. I chose higher visuals. I feel like there should be like a middle ground where you go like cool visuals, nice frame rate, but can't do that for some reason. But with the first world, I don't think they changed anything too drastically, so it's pretty good still. So the second world, basically the same as the original, except for they changed the bedoing, so when you hit him, the camera stays basically followed on you. It doesn't go top down. I'd say that's a bad problem. Also, the boss in this world is an owl? Wait, telling me they actually changed the bosses to be something cool than just ghosts? Even the attack cycles are different. The owl shoots feathers at you, and then you have to dodge them and then wait for the opening to attack it. And the second phase, it's faster. There's an eye tracking move, so you have to get out of the line of sight of it and then attack it. I think it's really cool, especially compared to the original where it's just a RevRoll speedrun. They did change the first level in the snow world a little bit by the fact that the RevRoll rams can now be stunned with a flip kick. I think that's really weird because they're not called flip kick rams, they're called RevRoll rams. But the RevRoll got really nerfed in this, so I don't fully care. They also changed how the ice physics work in it. You do get way more control, but you're not just like able to walk on the ice without issue. You still have to actually like platform on the snow and rocks. They also changed Avalanche Alley by zooming out the camera just a little bit more, which is really good, because now you can see the collectibles you need to get, and you don't have to get the Pac-Dots. I think they changed Blade Mountain a little. I'm not fully sure. The level design might be changed a little. All I know is I don't have to collect every Pac-Dot, so... They changed the boss, where now it's a polar bear, and you're flip-kicking back projectiles at it, and I think it's a really good boss fight. Overall, I think they really improved this world, mainly by the fact that you don't have to grab every Pac-Dot. In the lava world, they changed it, so the falling pillars are now like tilting pillars that you have to like stand on it to activate, and you have to like constantly stand on it. Weirdly enough, I think I prefer how the original did it, even though it sucked. They also changed Magma Opus into something completely unrecognizable. Except for the slide they kept pretty similar, I think. For the boss, I was thinking, what animal are they gonna do for lava? They chose spiders, and I hate spiders so much. But like the boss fight itself, pretty cool. It's a rock concert, and then you have to like butt bounce switches to activate a bridge so you can attack them. Really cool. Hate spiders though. With the water world, they actually changed it. They made it so you get full control of your swimming. Except for the sub, that's still an auto-scroller. I think that's fine. The only thing I don't like is that they gave you infinite ammo, so it is just a button masher, but the boss fight, pretty much exactly the same, except for you get a final phase of you going inside the sub to destroy it. Kinda cool. Doesn't really change a whole lot. I'm just really glad they made it so much better. They did change some things about the Ghost Island, like how the water is now purple instead of being brown. I preferred it being brown because it felt more like a swamp and everything. They changed Haunted Boardwalk, where it felt more like Blade Mountain, weirdly enough, based off of how fast you're going. And they added grind rails, which is kind of weird to me. They also changed night crawling a little bit by adding like mazes and little puzzles, not too bad. They changed Ghost Bayou by making it way shorter and just more like, felt like you're not just wasting your time. With the final boss Spooky, they changed it. So now he has a golden fruit. And then they also made his moves more readable in the first phase. In the second phase, it's basically the same exact moves, maybe a few added. But there's 3 of them now, and you have to figure out which one's a real one. And then they added a third phase to him, which, it's so easy, he's so big, all the moves are really predictable. You just platform up to him when you get an opening window and then attack. It's really easy. I think Spooky is one of the hardest bosses in this game, because you have to memorize all of his moves, or else you're starting from the top. It was so bad that I was able to quickly cycle through his first phase. Overall, I think this game did fix some of the really bad things in the original, but then changed some of the stuff that wasn't too bad. So weirdly enough, I'm probably going to give it the same score as the original, with a 7.5. Wait, no. Don't tell me there's a whole post-game to this.